Translator, editor, Dark Gem. They had already arrived at Surging River. Chin slowly swept his gaze across the surroundings, examining the terrain with calm vigilance. When Village Chief had once brought him out in search of Carefree Village, they had passed close to this very region. Thus, the village where the messenger of death guided wandering souls should not lie too far from here. At most, it would take 5 to 6 days of travel before they could return once more to Disabled Elderly Village. It was already near the end of the 8th month, and the blazing sun scorched the earth without mercy. Hanging high in the firmament, it poured down heat like molten fire, and the road ahead was uneven and rugged. When Chin had first departed alongside Crown Prince Ling Yushu, it had been the gentle season of spring. Now the tail end of summer had arrived. After another season passed, he would once again return to the village to celebrate the new year. Every encounter he had experienced throughout this journey could be called nothing short of joy. As they proceeded along the course of the river, a sudden current of water vapour drifted across the river's surface. Pure white mist rose and gathered thickly, sealing off the surroundings until nothing beyond it could be seen. Chinmu immediately halted his steps. The others also came to an abrupt stop, their figures standing upon the surface of the river without moving. Xiongshiyu's heart tightened with unease, and she lowered her voice as she asked, "A monster?" Chinmu shook his head slightly. "It doesn't appear to be one. Most likely it is some peculiarity of the great ruins." At that moment, the Carefree sword within the wooden sheath behind his back suddenly began to tremble faintly. Chinmu's heart stirred. Carefree sword rarely emitted a sword hum. The last time it had reacted like this was when he encountered his father, Qin Hanzhen, aboard the treasured ship. The sword trembled continuously, and from deep within the mist came faint sounds that resembled the clamour of marching troops. It seemed as though countless people were passing through this place. "Look beneath our feet! The water is gone!" Xiongqie cried out in alarm. Chinmu immediately lowered his head. To his astonishment, Surging River had vanished beneath their feet. In its place stretched dry and cracked yellow earth. The fog slowly thinned, becoming lighter and lighter, allowing them to glimpse moving figures in the distance. Chinmu, Xiongxiyu, and the others were stunned beyond words. Their bodies stiffened as they gazed upon the barren desert surrounding them, endless yellow sand stretching to the horizon. Tens of thousands of divine arts practitioners, dressed in ancient garments, were guiding enormous beasts while constructing vast structures. These structures did not resemble dwellings for ordinary humans. Towering pagodas pierced the clouds, and palaces fashioned of gold and jade radiated majestic splendour. Each one seemed fit for giants or heavenly gods to reside within. Upon the lofty altars stood radiant golden heavenly gods. Every one of them possessed a human body, yet their heads varied greatly. Some bore bird-like visages, while others resembled various ferocious beasts. Golden armour adorned their bodies, and divine light shone brilliantly from their eyes. They were living gods, and wherever they stood, it appeared as though eternal radiance illuminated the land. Tens of thousands of divine arts practitioners laboured under their supervision, building divine palaces for these gods. The scale of the construction was grand and awe-inspiring. Yet Chinmu and the others had been walking above Surging River just moments ago. How had this place suddenly become a desert? Several hornless dragons pulled a magnificent treasured carriage across the heavens. From above, a booming voice rolled like thunder across the sky. "By the command of High Emperor, the Ministry of Works shall construct the West Palace and open irrigation channels and transportation routes." Chinmu was slightly startled. "High Emperor? The third move in sword picture that Village Chief taught me is Calamity of High Emperor. What connection does the High Emperor from that sword move have with the High Emperor mentioned in this decree?" A god with the head of a dragon stood upon an altar and respectfully bowed to receive the command. His body trembled violently before transforming into an azure dragon. Summoning clouds and rain, he guided water to irrigate the barren desert. At the same time, another god who carried a bronze plough transformed into a towering giant. With immense power, he cleaved through mountains and carved out canals for irrigation. Another god produced a treasured vase which floated gently in mid-air. The mouth of the vase turned downward, and vegetation poured forth endlessly. In an instant, the desert transformed into lush grasslands filled with dense forests growing wildly. Yet another god took out an enormous cauldron. When it descended upon the ground, mountain ranges rose from the earth, reshaping the terrain entirely. In the blink of an eye, the desert had become a verdant mountainous region. Chinmu and the others stared blankly at the astonishing spectacle. The boundless divine abilities of the gods from the High Emperor era altered heaven and earth with ease, turning blue seas into mulberry fields as though it required no effort at all. This great river should be Surging River, correct? Chinmu was stunned. He saw the god wielding the bronze plough open a main river channel. It stretched endlessly and surged eastward. The shape of this great river resembled Surging River somewhat, yet its course was not exactly the same. At that moment, fog surged forward once again, swallowing everything. While the group remained distracted, they suddenly felt the land tremble violently. Thunderous rumblings echoed as though heaven and earth were collapsing. Within the fog unfolded a scene of apocalyptic devastation. The sky twisted wildly while the earth overturned. Volcanoes erupted, meteors rained down, thick smoke billowed, and lightning flooded the once magnificent palaces, burying an entire civilization beneath destruction. Behind them a thunderous roar sounded. When they turned around, they saw a natural moat gradually rising from the earth, cutting off the land. The fog slowly dispersed, and time and space seemed to shift. The natural moat gradually became clear again, and waterfalls began pouring once more into Surging River. The yellow sand beneath everyone's feet transformed back into flowing water, rushing day and night toward the eastern horizon. Shh! Shh! The two white bats hanging beneath the dragon Qilin's chin were stunned. Losing their grip, they plopped straight into the water. They immediately flapped their wings and flew back out, hugging each other tightly while trembling. The great ruins are far too strange. Cultmaster Qin, hurry and send us back to Ghost Valley. Chinmu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Fu brothers, the two of you are also among the strange things within the Great Ruins. Yet you still claim the Great Ruins are strange? You two brothers have frightened who knows how many explorers in Ghost Valley. The two white bats exchanged bewildered glances. We are strange too? Chinmu felt both anger and amusement. These brothers lacked even the slightest bit of self-awareness. They had no idea just how terrifying the strangeness of Ghost Valley truly was. That place was filled with bizarre life forms of every kind. Even celestial beings could not guarantee they would pass through it unharmed. On top of that, the brothers themselves served as the guardians of Ghost Valley, making them the strangest entities there. The surrounding fog had not completely dispersed. When they looked toward the natural moat, everything still appeared hazy. Suddenly, strands of fog drifted closer. When they passed near, they revealed themselves as grey, human-shaped figures that walked straight through the group. Everyone hurriedly turned around. The fog was gathering once again. A voice emerged from within it. What exactly happened during the High Emperor era? Why did such a magnificent age vanish? Was what we just witnessed an echo of history? A record of events replayed through coincidence and fate? This land is truly wondrous, and the people of the ancient empire were remarkable as well. Your Majesty, Dao Sect and Great Thunderclap Monastery possess some records that have been passed down through the years. If Your Majesty gives the order, they can be sent over. Excellent. Have them send the records over. I do not wish to deal with those monks and Taoists who constantly interfere with my reforms. Without reform, how can the lives of the people be improved? I do not wish to see them. The fog drifted toward the natural moat as the voice continued. I do not want our founding emperor era to fall into the same predicament. We must learn from the lessons of our predecessors. How could such a magnificent empire, with gods ruling the mortal world and labouring for the people, end in ruin? Such a powerful and prosperous age. Chinmu stared toward the fog with rising excitement. Founding emperor? Within the Qin family's ancestral register, the first name recorded was founding emperor. He was the ancestor of the Qin family. Chinmu immediately dashed after the human-shaped fog, but its speed was astonishing. After only a few steps, it had already left him far behind. No, and Chinmu unleashed heaven-pilfering divine legs and sprinted like lightning, yet the fog suddenly vanished. He stopped in place, stunned. Founding Emperor. Founding Emperor Empire. The empire that had existed before the Great Ruins must have suffered some great calamity, but what relationship did the Founding Emperor Empire have with Carefree Village? Xiong Shiyu and the others soon caught up. The woman glanced around cautiously before asking, "Cultmaster Qin, what was that scene earlier?" "An echo of history," he composed himself before continuing. "Many strange phenomena occur near the source of Surging River. This place connects to numerous worlds, so when night falls, many bizarre things emerge. Yet I never expected such strange occurrences to appear even during the day. Judging from the echo of history earlier, this place should have once been the location of one of High Emperor's temporary imperial residences. We may discover ruins from that era here." An echo of history? Xiong Shiyu and the others were stunned. How could events that had already occurred appear once again? Yet Qin had witnessed an echo of history before. On the treasured ship, he had seen the scene where his father Qin Hanjin had been ambushed. Such echoes of history were usually traces left behind in time by powerful practitioners. They were often triggered by a person, object, or event related to the original occurrence, usually through extraordinary coincidence. The echo of history aboard the treasured ship had been triggered by Qin Mu and Carefree Sword. So what had triggered the echo of history this time? There were actually two echoes of history this time. Qin Mu suddenly realized something. It could be said that they had witnessed an echo of history within another echo of history. When Founding Emperor arrived here, he had triggered the first echo of history and witnessed the scene where the gods under High Emperor transformed the desert in ancient times. Then came the second echo of history, when Founding Emperor and his companions appeared upon Surging River. The first echo of history existed within the second echo of history and had also been recorded by time itself. Then what activated this echo of history? Could it have been Carefree Sword again? Behind Qin Mu, Carefree Sword had already quieted and no longer emitted any sword hums. The echo of history had also completely dissipated. The river surface no longer held any fog, and the sky was clear while the sun blazed intensely overhead. The fog had appeared from nowhere and disappeared just the same. Too strange. Why are such strange events occurring here? Wait, the echo of history had also appeared aboard Father's treasured ship. At that time, it was caught between Yudu and the real world, with the beehive seals sealing the entrance. If the circumstances are the same, then the echo of history here must also be caused by an entrance to another world nearby. Qin Mu pondered deeply. Perhaps the echo of history was reflected upon the barrier between worlds, and once triggered, past events would manifest once more. He and village chief had encountered the messenger of death near here before, and entered Fengdu's living realm of the dead. The second time he came, he had also encountered the messenger of death and entered that same realm to borrow the moonship. The living realm of the dead lay nearby, which meant Yudu should also be close. The source of Surging River appears to be an important node connecting multiple worlds. Perhaps there exists a divine art here that leads to other realms? There must certainly be nodes that link worlds together. Qin Mu steadied his thoughts. Layers of light swirled within his eyes as he activated Cyan Heaven's eyes. Scanning the surroundings, he found no abnormalities. He raised his head to look upward. After a moment, he noticed something unusual. The sky remained the same brilliant blue, yet he saw two clouds drifting toward each other and passing directly through one another. According to common knowledge, when two clouds met, they would merge together. Yet these clouds had passed straight through each other as though they had never touched anything at all. It looked as though the clouds existed in different times or spaces, and therefore could not collide. This meant that above their heads, two skies overlapped. No, perhaps there are three. Qin leaped upward and shot toward the heavens. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept past, causing him to shiver. It may even be 4 overlapping skies. Or perhaps 5. Ed Dark Gem. The currents of cloud and wind drifted in opposing paths. One cloud bank swept toward the left horizon, while another sailed toward the right. Yet in the heavens where those clouds lingered, the wind itself followed a completely different course. Instead of sweeping across the sky, it plunged straight downward, like a hidden current falling through the void. The only explanation for such a strange phenomenon was that the clouds and the wind did not belong to the same world. They existed in different layers of space. From the arrangement of the clouds and the movement of the wind, there were at least 3 separate layers overlapping in that place. If the heavens of Yudu, forever shrouded in darkness, or the mist-laden realm of Fengdu had appeared there, their skies would surely have been pitch black or ashen grey, yet they were neither. Even so, Qin Mu knew with certainty that those 2 worlds were lurking nearby. This meant that the source of Surging River might be a place where 5 different worlds overlapped upon one another. When night descended, darkness would surge forth and invade, and those hidden worlds would reveal themselves one after another, stepping onto the grand stage of existence. When I have the time, I must travel to the place where West Earth connects with the Great Ruins. The darkness emerges from there, so perhaps I can uncover even more secrets in that place. Qin Mu descended slowly from the sky, his head throbbing faintly. What exactly were those echoes of history? What were the worlds connected to the source of Surging River? Where were the nodes where they intersected? The Great Ruins concealed countless secrets, and Surging River seemed to hide just as many. Some secrets are things I cannot touch or unravel. If I attempt to force the matter, we may place our lives in grave danger. Let us return to the village first. As they drifted downstream, Xiong Xiu could not help but keep glancing at Qin Mu. Her eyes sized him up repeatedly until she finally asked with curiosity, "Cult Master Qin, did you truly grow up in the Great Ruins?" Qin Mu nodded and asked with a puzzled expression, "Why do you ask?" "How did you manage to survive in such a perilous place? The Great Ruins are filled with strange beasts, strange phenomena, and countless dangers. At night, the darkness invades, and devils and monsters roam freely. On top of that, other worlds frequently overlap with the Great Ruins. It is truly unbelievable that you managed to survive until now." Qin Mu smiled faintly. "Big Sister Palace Master, you are mistaken. The Great Ruins are actually very safe, far safer than the outside world. The true danger lies beyond its borders. When I first left the Great Ruins and entered Eternal Peace, I stayed at an inn by the river. And that very night something happened. The place was called Dyke River County, and every person in the entire county died. Only Linga and I managed to escape. I had never encountered anything like that in the Great Ruins." Xiong Xiu did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You cannot claim that Eternal Peace is more dangerous than the Great Ruins just because of that single incident. That was merely a coincidence. Ever since I entered Eternal Peace, murderous intentions and killing attempts have followed me everywhere. Assassinations are constant. Compared to that, the Great Ruins are much safer. The greatest danger I encountered in the Great Ruins was also caused by outsiders who barged in. Therefore, the Great Ruins are the safest place." Qin Mu explained calmly. Xiong Xiu felt puzzled. She could not understand how anyone could consider the Great Ruins safer than the outside world. The dragon Qilin chuckled from the side. "Palace Master might not know this, but whenever Cult Master travels outside, he doesn't even dare use his real name. The moment he reveals his name, people rushing to kill him would line up all the way from the Eternal Peace Empire to disabled elderly village. The righteous practitioners are all eager to take his life." Qin Mu shot him a sharp glance and immediately turned to explain to Xiong Xiu. "Our Heavenly Saint cult is actually very righteous, so please don't be misled. That's right. Once we reach the village, I will be able to remove your poison. What are your plans after that?" Xiong Xiu fell into a daze. Return to True Heaven Palace? Now that only her daughter remained, she no longer possessed the confidence to return and reclaim the authority and position of Palace Master. Furthermore, she worried about Xiong Chie's safety. Yet, abandoning the foundation left behind by her ancestors was something she simply could not accept. Qin Mu noticed the expression on her face and smiled. "Even though I can remove your coiling poison, your cultivation will not recover immediately. I will still need to help you recuperate and restore your vital qi. If you cannot make a decision, I have a suggestion. Why not come with me to the Eternal Peace Empire for a while? I am an academician at the Imperial College, so I can recommend that you teach there. Xiang Xiu's beautiful eyes were as clear as water as she gazed deeply into his. Unconsciously, she released the imposing aura of a sacred ground mistress. I am the mistress of True Heaven Palace, and you are asking me to teach at Imperial College? Qin Mu pondered for a moment before saying, Then why not come teach at the school hall of our Heavenly Saint cult? Xiang Xiu did not know whether to laugh or cry. Let me go to Imperial College first. 5 days later, they finally arrived at Disabled Elderly Village. Qin Mu first went to look for Hu Linga. Several white foxes emerged from her room, speaking in human language. Young master, big sister went to the Eternal Peace Empire to search for you. She has been gone for several months. Qin Mu asked about the details. The leading white fox explained, the great demon king came to force big sister to marry him, so she beat him up. Then the great demon king called his father over. Big sister couldn't defeat him, so she ran away, saying she would find young master in the Eternal Peace Empire. Qin Mu bade them farewell and led the others toward Disabled Elderly Village. When the village came into view, Qin Mu grew excited and shouted loudly, Grandpa Village Chief! Grandpa Apothecary, I'm back! Xiang Xiu looked at the small village before her and saw an old man with a scraggly beard lying on a recliner at the village entrance. The old man had neither arms nor legs. His beard was tangled and unkempt, and his hair was messy. A flock of chickens patrolled through the village with great authority, appearing extremely awe-inspiring. Omwe has returned. You've grown taller again. The messy old man rocked gently in his recliner while basking in the sunlight. His gaze swept across Xiang Xiu and the 2 white bats. After a moment, his expression shifted into astonishment. This girl is very beautiful, and her cultivation is quite strong as well. A pity she is poisoned. The 2 white bats are somewhat interesting. The 2 white bats flew up to the tree above his head and hung upside down from its branches while sizing up the village chief with interest. You are very strong as well. Qin Mu frowned as he examined village chief carefully. Then he hurried into the village to fetch a pig slaughtering knife before entering Granny Sai's room to retrieve a white cloth. He returned with a basin of hot water, soaked the towel and covered village chief's face. After a while, Qin Mu removed the towel and used the pig slaughtering knife to shave off his beard. Village chief, everyone from the village, Grandpa Apothecary, he isn't here. Look at this. Your beard is almost dragging on the ground. Apothecary ran away. Village chief sighed. Several women found their way here and frightened him away, leaving me here alone. I have no limbs, so I cannot crawl back into the house. Qin Mu was startled. Village chief, how long have you been lying here at the entrance of the village? Almost 2 months. Qin Mu was speechless. This old man had remained motionless at the entrance for 2 full months, letting the wind batter him, the rain soak him, and even the darkness engulf him. This could be considered reaching a brand new realm of laziness. Xiang Xiu was also shocked. From the arrangement of the stone statues in the village, their radiance should not reach this place. Yet this messy old man had lain here for 2 months without dying. Was she God? Or were the strange creatures lurking within the darkness simply not interested in him? Qin Mu finished shaving village chief's beard and washed his face. He then trimmed the messy white hair and tidied his appearance before carrying the old man back into his room. He changed village chief's clothes into a new set before taking the old clothes away to wash. Afterward, he carried the old man outside again and placed him back onto the recliner. Qin Mu poured him a pot of tea before asking, Grandpa Ma and the others still haven't returned? Old Ma came back once. Dao Master and Old Rulai also found their way here. The latter said he was no longer Rulai and severed one of his arms. He said he couldn't return Old Ma's children to him, but he could return him an arm. Qin Mu cried out in alarm. Old Rulai cut off his own arm? That's right. Old Rulai's arm was pecked by the hen dragons. It's in the chicken coop. The hen dragon couldn't finish eating it. Village chief sighed. Old Ma may appear cold and resentful toward the world, but when Old Rulai severed his arm to return it to him, he was still moved to tears. He went to the great Thunderclap monastery to oversee things, saying he would return once a new Rulai appeared. I think he will never come back. He intends to wait for the new Rulai, but when that day comes and he sits upon the seat of Rulai, he will realize that he himself is Rulai. Qin Mu fell into a daze. I'm heading to Ghost Valley so I can look for him along the way. Where is Grandpa Cripple? Aren't he and Grandpa Ma inseparable? They are inseparable, so he naturally followed him to the Great Thunderclap Monastery as a guest. He said he feared Old Ma might suffer a disadvantage. Village Chief showed a worried expression. I fear that after Old Ma becomes Rulai, he will discover that the entire mountain he guards is nothing but an illusion. Qin Mu also failed to see Butcher, Blind or Mute, so he asked about them as well. Blind and Butcher had left with the old Dao Master and old Rulai, saying they wanted to visit Little Jade Capital. As for Mute, he had originally shown no intention of leaving the village. However, just before the day Apothecary fled, Mute suddenly went mad. He packed his belongings and rushed into the darkness, chasing after something. He had not returned since. Granny C still had not returned either. She was likely still within the Eternal Peace Empire, suppressing her heart demon and tempering her nature. Qin Mu began tidying the village. He placed every treasure and anything that looked remotely like a treasure into his 2 touty sacks. Then he walked to the herb garden at the village entrance and stretched out his hand. Flying swords shot into the surrounding ground and tunneled beneath the soil. Slicing something hidden underneath, Qin Mu raised both hands as though lifting a massive object. The entire herb garden rose into the air and was placed inside Pangong So's touty sack. That sack was far superior to Qin Mu's own, and the space inside was large enough to store an entire piece of land. Qin Mu picked up Apothecary's herb basket and placed Village Chief inside it. Village Chief immediately became furious. "Rascal, what are you doing? Put me down!" "I cannot leave you here." Qin Mu tightened the herb basket onto his back. "If something happens to you, who would know? From now on, Grandpa Village Chief will follow me wherever I go." Village Chief remained silent for a moment, feeling slightly moved. He smiled faintly. "Put me down? Silly child, I am already old. I can no longer travel around. I have already promised Yama that after my death I will go to his living realm of the dead. When that time comes, a bird god will arrive to fetch me." Qin Mu suddenly felt the herb basket on his back grow incomparably heavy, as though he were carrying an entire mountain. He knew Village Chief was unwilling to leave the great ruins. Qin Mu blinked before saying, "Doesn't Grandpa Village Chief wish to meet the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor? Doesn't the old Sword God wish to meet the new Sword God? The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor is praised as the saint who appears once every 500 years, so he is definitely worth meeting." The herb basket on Qin Mu's back suddenly became much lighter. Village Chief's tone carried a trace of heroic spirit. "The new Sword God? Very well, it would not be bad to meet him before I die. Go then, let us go meet the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor."